Beloved, hear this truth. Money is not hard to come by. It is not a mountain you must climb, nor a battle you must fight. Money is a current, an obedient servant of the divine law. And when you awaken to this truth, you will discover that your wealth does not grow by toil alone. It multiplies even as you sleep. There is a force at work, invisible yet undeniable. Just as the farmer plants his seed and rests, knowing the soil is faithful, so too must you sow your thoughts of increase and allow the divine to bring the harvest. Do not doubt the night, for while your body sleeps, your faith is awake, commanding your money to multiply. Say to your money, "You are my servant. Go forth and return multiplied." Speak with authority, for wealth responds to certainty. The timid voice creates timid results, but the bold command calls forth abundance. Every coin, every note, every investment is but a seed, and seeds are made to grow. Do not clutch your wealth in fear, for what you grip tightly cannot breathe. Circulate it with faith, give, and it is given back. Share, and it returns multiplied. Wealth is a river, keep it flowing, and it will never run dry. And let gratitude be your daily song. Give thanks for money already multiplying, even before you see it. Gratitude is the magnet that draws unseen riches into the seen world. The grateful soul never lacks, for gratitude is the language of divine supply. When you lay your head at night, do not carry the burden of worry. Instead, close your eyes with a vision of plenty. See your bank account overflowing. See your debts dissolved like mist in the morning sun. See yourself free, prosperous, and at ease. The last picture you hold before sleep is the blueprint your subconscious builds upon. Remember, it is not the figures in your account that define your wealth. It is the faith in your heart. Faith commands figures to rise. Faith turns lack into plenty. Faith multiplies while reason says, impossible. So walk in alignment with divine law. Command your wealth, release your fear, live in gratitude and give freely, and you shall find that the miracle of increase is not a far-off dream, but a living reality, one that works faithfully even while you sleep. Beloved, wealth is yours, multiplication is yours. Rest tonight knowing this truth. Your money is working for you, and by divine law, it must return to you multiplied, overflowing, and without end. The law of divine supply is the eternal truth that there is no lack in the universe, only abundance, and what you call forth with faith must come to you. The world is overflowing with riches, overflowing with opportunities, overflowing with provision, yet the human mind often lives in the illusion of scarcity. This illusion is born of fear, of comparison, of false belief that supply is limited and must be fought for. But the divine knows no limitation. The divine operates under an eternal law. Supply is infinite, and it flows according to faith, gratitude, and alignment with truth. Every need is already met before you even voice it. The air you breathe is not rationed, it is abundant. The sun does not shine for one and withhold its light from another. It shines universally, constantly, freely. This is the same law that governs money, health, relationships, and every good thing. Supply is always present, but it responds to the call of faith. If you stand in the energy of lack, you close the door to supply. If you live in the certainty of divine abundance, the doors fling wide open and provision rushes in to meet you. The human habit is to believe only what is seen. You look at the balance in your account, the job you hold, the possessions around you, and you decide whether you are rich or poor. Yet the law of divine supply operates on the unseen. The invisible creates the visible. Faith is the hand that draws the unseen substance into form. When you believe, truly believe, that you are supplied in every way, you activate a law more powerful than any economic system, more certain than any worldly calculation. Money, opportunities, favor, and increase are not created by your struggle. They are released by your belief. Struggle is the language of fear, but faith is the language of abundance. When you struggle, you confess that you believe supply is scarce and must be forced into your hands. When you rest in faith, You confess that supply is infinite and it comes to you without strain. This is why those who seem to labor endlessly often remain in lack, while those who trust and align with divine law find themselves surrounded by provision that arrives almost effortlessly. The divine supply is not measured in numbers alone. It is measured in peace, in joy, in freedom from worry. What good is great wealth if it comes chained to fear? True supply feeds the spirit as well as the body. It answers the needs of the soul as well as the desires of the heart. When you open to this law, you do not just attract money, you attract right opportunities, right relationships, right circumstances that allow you to live fully and freely. Consider the lilies of the field, which neither toil nor spin, yet they are clothed in beauty beyond the finest garments. They do not fear tomorrow, for tomorrow's supply is already assured. This is the perfect example of divine law. Nature does not question, it does not worry, it does not doubt. It simply receives the supply that has already been prepared. The birds awaken each day with no hoarded riches, yet their needs are met daily. So too are you called to trust. The divine supply is ever flowing, but you must come into alignment with it by releasing fear and embracing certainty. The mind that believes in lack will always see lack, no matter how much it possesses. The mind that believes in supply will always draw more to itself, no matter how little it begins with. The law of divine supply is impartial. It does not favor one above another. It simply responds to the vibration of thought and belief. Those who believe in endless increase open the channel wide. Those who doubt and fear constrict it until only trickles remain. The universe reflects not what you wish, but what you truly believe. To live in divine supply, you must command your words and your thoughts with discipline. Words of fear, words of lack, words of desperation block the flow of abundance. But words of faith, words of gratitude, words of expectancy clear the way for supply to manifest. When you declare, "I am abundantly supplied in all things," you are aligning yourself with the truth that has always been. You are giving your subconscious mind a clear order, and the subconscious, connected to the infinite, will carry out the command. Gratitude is the activator of supply. To give thanks for what you already have is to acknowledge the abundance that surrounds you, and gratitude multiplies it. To give thanks for what has not yet appeared is to declare faith in the unseen, and faith brings it forth. Every word of thanks is like opening another channel through which supply may flow. The grateful heart cannot live in lack, for gratitude magnetizes increase. Circulation is another principle of supply. What you hoard in fear begins to stagnate, but what you circulate in faith returns multiplied. Money is like water, it must flow. When you give, you are not losing, you are planting a seed. Every seed planted grows into a harvest, and when planted with faith, the harvest is abundant. To give to others, to invest in life, to let money flow through your hands with wisdom and joy, is to affirm your trust in divine supply, and that trust will always be rewarded with multiplication. The law of divine supply also demands release from envy and comparison. To look at another's abundance with jealousy is to deny your own. To celebrate another's wealth is to align with the same vibration and open yourself to receive it. What you resent, you repel. What you bless, you draw nearer. Bless every sign of prosperity you see. Bless the homes, the cars, the opportunities, the wealth in others, for in blessing it, you are affirming it for yourself. Rest is part of supply. When you rest in faith, you say to the divine, "I trust your law more than I trust my fear." Worry is wasted energy, but rest is a magnet for provision. While you sleep, while you pause, while you rest, divine law is still at work multiplying your seed, preparing your increase. The night is not a void, but a workshop where unseen forces labor on your behalf. This law is eternal, unbreakable, and certain. It does not waver with economies, it does not bend to appearances, it does not collapse under doubt. It is as sure as gravity, as constant as the sunrise. The divine supply is the inheritance of every soul. You are not here to scrape by in survival. You are here to live in overflow, to be a channel of blessing, to experience the richness of life without fear. To claim your portion, you must only believe, command, and align with the truth that has been true since the beginning. There is no lack in divine law. Supply is infinite, and it is yours. Belief is the golden key that unlocks the doors of destiny, the invisible force that shapes every visible outcome. What you believe, you create, for belief is the seed that grows into reality. It is not what you wish that manifests. It is what you deeply and consistently believe. You may say with your lips that you expect abundance, but if in your heart you harbor fear, doubt, and disbelief, then lack will continue to mirror itself in your life. The power of belief is the greatest creative power you possess, for it is the very energy that instructs the unseen to shape the seen. Every human being is born into a world overflowing with possibility, yet it is belief that determines who steps into riches and who remains in lack, who thrives and who merely survives. Two people can look at the same opportunity, the same circumstance, and one sees defeat while the other sees triumph. The difference is not in the situation, it is in the belief held within. The one who believes he can finds a way. The one who believes he cannot proves himself right. Belief colors perception, and perception creates experience. The subconscious mind does not question your words or your hopes. It obeys your beliefs. If you believe life is hard, it will be hard. If you believe that money is scarce, you will live in scarcity. If you believe opportunities are rare, you will overlook them even when they are at your doorstep. But if you believe in abundance, you will begin to see abundance where others see none. If you believe in divine supply, your eyes will open to doors that fear kept closed. Belief is the filter through which life is experienced, and it is the magnet that draws conditions to match itself. Every invention, every fortune, every breakthrough was first a belief. The great builders, creators, and dreamers did not begin with evidence, they began with belief. When the world told them it was impossible, their belief declared it possible. When circumstances opposed them, belief sustained them. This is the reason belief is more powerful than evidence, because evidence only shows what has already been created, but belief creates what has never existed before. Belief is the architect of tomorrow, the unseen force that builds the bridge to your desires. Fear is nothing more than misplaced belief. It is belief in loss, belief in failure, belief in harm. Yet fear holds no substance of its own. It is the shadow cast when belief is turned in the wrong direction. The same energy that fuels fear can fuel faith. When belief is pointed toward lack, you receive lack. When belief is pointed toward abundance, you receive abundance. This is why it is written that as a man believes in his heart, so shall it be. Belief does not lie dormant. It is constantly at work, creating either bondage or freedom. Belief must be guarded, for it is the most precious possession of the soul. Guard it from the voices of doubt that tell you it cannot be done. Guard it from the constant repetition of lack, worry, and despair. Words repeated sink into belief, and belief shapes reality. Many live imprisoned by beliefs they never chose, beliefs spoken into them by others, beliefs absorbed from the world around them. But the moment you awaken to the truth that belief is a choice, you take back your power. You may discard false beliefs and plant true ones. You may uproot the weeds of fear and sow the seeds of faith. The power of belief is multiplied by repetition and emotion. A thought believed once may pass away, but a thought believed daily, infused with feeling, becomes rooted in the subconscious. This is why affirmations, prayers, and declarations carry such power, not because the words alone contain magic, but because repeated words impregnated with belief instruct the mind to accept them as true. Once accepted, the subconscious begins to arrange reality to match the belief. Belief creates patterns, and patterns create destiny. You do not need to see evidence to believe. You need to believe in order to see evidence. The mind that demands proof before belief will always remain in the realm of limitation. The mind that dares to believe without evidence calls forth evidence from the invisible. When you say, "I will believe it when I see it," you shut the door of creation. But when you declare, "I will see it because I believe it," you set creation in motion. Belief precedes manifestation as surely as the seed precedes the harvest. The body itself is shaped by belief. Countless healings have occurred not through medicine alone, but through belief in recovery. And countless illnesses have lingered, not because of their strength, but because of belief in their permanence. The cells listen to belief. The mind directs the body, and the body follows. If belief can restore health, if belief can extend life, how much more can belief attract wealth, opportunity, and freedom? Belief is not limited to one arena. It governs all. Every day you are exercising the power of belief, whether consciously or unconsciously. If you believe the day will be difficult, it will confirm itself. If you believe people cannot be trusted, you will draw untrustworthy people into your circle. If you believe doors are opening for you, opportunities will appear. This is not superstition, it is law. The vibration of belief sends out a signal, and the universe responds to that signal with matching conditions. To harness this power, you must first become aware of what you already believe. Many are unconsciously sabotaging themselves with beliefs such as "I am not worthy of wealth," "success is for others," "money is evil," or "good things never last." Such beliefs operate like chains, binding you even when abundance is near. To break these chains, you must replace them with higher beliefs. "I am worthy of wealth," "success belongs to me," "money is a servant of good," and "every blessing increases in my life." As these new beliefs take root, the chains of limitation fall away, and life begins to align with freedom. Belief is the soil into which every desire is planted. Without belief, the seed rots in the ground. With belief, it grows into a mighty tree. Some pray for blessings but harbor doubt in their hearts, and their prayers bear no fruit. Others pray with the certainty that it is already done, and the universe rushes to confirm their faith. The difference is not in the asking, but in the believing. Ask with belief, and it shall be given. Believe without wavering, and the invisible will take form. The greatest enemy of belief is double-mindedness. To believe today and doubt tomorrow is to plant a seed and uproot it again. To declare abundance in the morning, but fear lack in the evening, is to cancel your own command. Belief must be steadfast, consistent, unwavering. Just as the farmer leaves his seed in the ground, trusting it will grow though unseen, so must you leave your belief unshaken, even when results are not yet visible. The law is sure, the harvest must come. The power of belief is not wishful thinking, it is creative law. It is the foundation upon which miracles are built and the mechanism by which wealth is multiplied. You need not wait for external conditions to change before you believe. You must believe first, and external conditions will change in response. Belief is the blueprint, and reality follows the design. In truth, the only limitations you face are the ones you believe. If you believe you are bound, you remain bound. If you believe you are free, freedom manifests. If you believe riches are scarce, scarcity surrounds you. If you believe riches are abundant, abundance appears in every corner. This is the unshakable law. What you believe, you receive. Therefore, let belief be your greatest treasure. Nurture it, guard it, strengthen it. Believe in the unseen supply. Believe in the goodness of life. Believe in your own worthiness, and you will see wonders unfold. The power of belief does not rest in distant hands. It rests within you, ready to shape the life you dare to envision. Believe boldly, and life will bow to your certainty. Sleep is not merely a time of rest for the body, it is the divine workshop where the unseen is shaped into the seen. While the conscious mind grows quiet, the subconscious mind goes to work, receiving every word, every image, every belief you have impressed upon it during the day. The hours you call night are not wasted hours, they are the hours of creation, when the seeds you have sown in thought and feeling are watered and made ready to sprout. This is why sleep is the silent multiplier. What you give to your subconscious before you sleep multiplies itself, while you rest and shows itself in your life with astonishing certainty. So many people go to bed rehearsing their worries, replaying their failures, magnifying their fears. They drift into sleep with visions of lack, words of doubt, and heavy hearts. And because the subconscious does not argue, it accepts those images as truth and multiplies them. They awake to the same burdens and wonder why their circumstances never change. Yet those who go to sleep with faith, with gratitude, with visions of plenty, awaken to fresh opportunities, unexpected blessings, and an atmosphere of peace. The difference is not in fate, but in focus. Sleep takes whatever you hand to it and increases it. The subconscious mind does not slumber. It is tireless, faithful, and obedient. It does not reason. It does not question. It does not reject. It only accepts and produces. The conscious mind may grow weary with doubt, but the subconscious is a perfect servant, ever carrying out the last order it has received. This is why the last thoughts before sleep are the most powerful. They sink into the soil of the subconscious and work all night long, multiplying without interference. If you declare abundance, if you envision success, if you affirm health and peace before you close your eyes, you have set in motion a multiplication that will show itself by day. Sleep is the doorway between the visible and the invisible. It is in these quiet hours that your spirit communes most freely with the divine, that your mind is most receptive to guidance, that inspiration flows without resistance. Answers come in dreams, clarity arises, direction is revealed. Many of the world's greatest inventions, discoveries, and breakthroughs were conceived in dreams, because the sleeping state is unbound by the limitations of logic. In the stillness of sleep, the impossible becomes possible, and the unseen delivers its treasures. To treat sleep lightly is to waste a divine opportunity. To fall asleep without intention is to let your creative power run wild without direction. But to approach sleep as a sacred practice is to harness its power as a multiplier. When you end your day with gratitude, affirming the abundance of life, you impress the subconscious with images of increase. When you see yourself thriving, prosperous, and free, you give your inner mind a blueprint to follow. And when you rest in faith, knowing the divine is at work on your behalf, you rise with renewed strength and visible evidence of provision. Sleep is also the great restorer. The body repairs itself in slumber, the mind resets, the spirit is refreshed. The energy you pour into the day is multiplied back to you by the rest you receive at night. Just as a field left fallow regains its fertility, so too does your soul regain strength through rest. Productivity without rest is depletion, but productivity with rest is multiplication. The one who works tirelessly without pause drains himself and diminishes returns. The one who works faithfully and rests deeply multiplies his results, for sleep adds what effort cannot. Even money multiplies while you sleep when you align with divine law. The one who plants seeds of faith in giving, investing, and circulating wealth finds that those seeds continue to grow while he rests. The law of multiplication is not suspended during the night. Just as crops grow unseen in darkness, so too does money, opportunity, and favor increase in unseen ways. The morning often reveals what the night has produced: a letter, a call, an idea. a connection that brings new supply. Worrying in the night is the greatest thief of multiplication. Anxiety corrodes the soil of the subconscious and makes it produce thorns instead of fruit. Those who lie awake rehearsing every fear are commanding their subconscious to multiply those very fears. The night hours were never given for fear but for faith. When you turn your rest into a sacred trust, saying, "All is well, supply is mine, I am guided, I am safe," you enter into a sleep that multiplies good. You wake not only refreshed but surrounded by the fruits of faith. Gratitude before sleep is like locking the door to fear. When you count your blessings and give thanks for what has already appeared and what is on its way, you create a vibration that cannot be invaded by lack. Gratitude tells the subconscious, "Multiply this good," and it does so faithfully. Every night becomes a harvest when you go to bed with thanksgiving in your heart. Visualization before rest is one of the most potent practices of multiplication. The images you hold just before sleep bypass the doubts of the conscious mind and imprint themselves directly onto the subconscious. See yourself with the wealth you desire, the health you deserve, the freedom you seek. See it as if it were already true, feel the joy of it, and let that picture be the final impression of the day. In the silence of the night, the subconscious will go to work to bring those pictures into reality. Faith transforms sleep into a creative partnership with the divine. To lay your head down in confidence, saying, "While I sleep, the divine is at work for me," is to trust the unseen forces more than your own effort. Faith is the rest of certainty. It is the assurance that though you close your eyes, you do not close the channel of supply. On the contrary, you open it wider, because you allow the divine to do what your striving never could. Sleep is not idleness. It is participation in a higher rhythm where multiplication is effortless. This is why it is said that the one who trusts does not labor in vain. You are not meant to wrestle with life day and night. You are meant to work with wisdom by day and release your work in faith by night. What you have planted in thought, in word, and in deed during the day, you release into the fertile soil of night, and when morning comes, you reap the increase. Sleep is the silent multiplier because it magnifies what you already believe. If you believe in lack, lack grows. If you believe in abundance, abundance grows. If you believe in fear, fear multiplies. If you believe in divine supply multiplies. The night hours are neutral, they simply multiply the last belief you hand them. Therefore, guard carefully what you give your subconscious before sleep, for it will return it multiplied. Every night is a gift, an invitation to multiply what is good, to release what is heavy, to restore what is weary. Sleep is not escape, it is creation. It is not the pause of life, it is the preparation of life. It is not wasted time, it is sacred time where faith is magnified, where blessings are multiplied, where the unseen shapes the path of the seen. And when you rise with the morning sun, you rise into the harvest of the seeds you entrusted to the silent multiplier called sleep. Wealth is obedient to command, for money is not master but servant, not ruler but tool, and it responds to the authority of the one who dares to direct it. Too often people bow to money, fearing its absence, chasing its presence, living as if it holds power over their lives. In truth, money has no power of its own. It is like clay in the potter's hands, taking form according to the consciousness that shapes it. Wealth is not stubborn, it does not resist. It is utterly obedient to the voice of certainty, to the command of faith, to the declaration spoken without hesitation. You were never designed to serve money, you were designed to command it. Money is a tool of divine supply, meant to flow through you and multiply under your direction. But the one who fears money places it on a throne it does not deserve, giving it dominion over thoughts and choices. Fearful people say, "I cannot afford this. Money is scarce. I am bound by lack." and so money, ever obedient, follows their command. It withdraws, it hides, it grows scarce, because they have declared it so. The law cannot be broken. Wealth reflects the words spoken over it. If you speak of lack, lack obeys. If you speak of increase, increase obeys. The spoken word carries power, for every word is a seed planted in the subconscious mind, and the subconscious is the link between the unseen and the seen. When you declare, "Money flows to me freely and abundantly," you are commanding your subconscious to align with opportunities, ideas, and circumstances that fulfill that decree. When you say, "Wealth multiplies under my hand," you are sending forth an order that must be executed. Words are not empty sounds, they are living commands. The universe hears them, the subconscious receives them, and wealth responds accordingly. To command wealth, you must first see yourself as its rightful master. A servant does not hesitate, does not argue, does not choose its own path, it obeys. Money has no will of its own. It merely takes on the will you impress upon it. This is why those who believe money is evil find it bringing them sorrow, while those who believe money is good see it doing good in their lives. Money only mirrors the consciousness of its holder. Command it with fear, and it brings chains. Command it with wisdom, and it brings freedom. The timid soul who whispers half-heartedly cannot expect wealth to move. Wealth obeys boldness, not doubt. A king does not beg his servant. He commands with authority, knowing he will be obeyed. So too must you speak to money with certainty. Say, "I send you forth to multiply. I call you into my life in overflowing measure. I direct you to serve divine purpose." And money, loyal and obedient, will respond. It may come through ideas, through unexpected channels, through people, through opportunities, but it will come, for the command has been given. The tragedy is that many are unconsciously commanding money every day without realizing it. They say, "I never have enough. Money slips through my hands. I always struggle." And wealth, faithful to their command, ensures those words become reality. The law makes no distinction between conscious and unconscious commands. It simply obeys. That is why discipline of speech is essential. Every complaint, every word of lack, every fearful declaration is a command shaping your financial life. When you understand this, you will guard your tongue and speak only words that align with abundance. Wealth is also obedient to inner command, the silent beliefs you hold. You may declare with your mouth, "I am wealthy," but if your heart secretly believes, "I am poor," then wealth will obey the deeper command. Belief is the true authority, and words spoken without belief carry little power. This is why the inner work of shifting beliefs is crucial. You must replace thoughts of lack with thoughts of supply, fears of scarcity with visions of overflow. When belief and word are aligned, the command is irresistible. Wealth cannot do otherwise but obey. Consider how even small commands are answered. Speak gratitude over a single coin. Bless the little you hold, and it will multiply. But curse it, despise it, call it never enough, and it will dwindle. Wealth listens closely, and it grows or shrinks according to the treatment it receives. Those who honor it, bless it, and direct it wisely see it increase. Those who neglect it, fear it, or misuse it see it vanish. The law is impartial. It is not personal. It simply obeys the tone of your command. Command does not mean arrogance. It means certainty. You do not have to shout at money. You must simply speak with unwavering faith. The whisper of faith is stronger than the cry of fear. To command wealth is to align yourself with divine law, to recognize that you are heir to abundance, not a beggar scraping at the door. The command is not yours alone. It is the voice of divine authority speaking through you. When you command wealth, you are affirming the eternal truth that supply is already yours. Wealth is obedient not only to words but to actions. Your actions, too, are commands. When you circulate money with joy, you command it to return multiplied. When you hoard in fear, you command it to stagnate. When you invest with faith, you command it to grow. When you waste without care, you command it to flee. Every choice is a silent instruction, every decision a decree. Wealth listens always and without delay. To live in mastery of money is not to chase it, but to command it. The chase implies it has power to run from you. The command recognizes it cannot resist you. You may say, I release you to serve my highest good, and money will flow into right uses. You may say, I direct you to bring increase while I sleep, and unseen forces will set to work. You may say, you are my servant, not my master, and money will bow to that role. The law cannot contradict itself. Wealth must obey. There is no end to the multiplication that can occur when you master this truth. The farmer commands the seed by placing it in the soil, and the soil obeys by producing harvest. So too do you command wealth by sowing thoughts, words, and actions of abundance, and the universe obeys by producing prosperity. The harvest is certain because the law is certain. You need not beg the divine for provision. You need only align with the law and command it. Supply has already been created. It awaits your direction. The ocean of abundance surrounds you, but until you command it to flow, you stand by thirsty. Speak boldly, act with faith, believe without wavering, and wealth must obey. For wealth was never designed to dominate you. It was designed to serve you, to multiply under your authority, to manifest the good you envision. Fear may whisper that you are at the mercy of circumstances, but the truth resounds louder. Wealth is obedient to command. Speak with certainty, believe with conviction, act with alignment, and watch as money bends, multiplies, and flows according to your word. Detach from strain, embrace ease, for nothing lasting, nothing truly abundant, can be born from the soil of struggle. The world has trained many to believe that only through strain, through endless toil and ceaseless worry, will they receive their portion. They clutch, they grasp, they grind, believing that life is a battle to be won by sheer force of effort. Yet in this very belief lies the barrier to their blessings. Strain shuts the door, while ease opens it wide. Strain says, I must do this alone, while ease declares, I align with the greater power that does all things with perfection. When you live in strain, your energy is twisted, your thoughts bound in knots, your vision clouded by fear. You push against the current, exhausting yourself, believing progress only comes from resistance. But strain creates resistance. What you resist persists. What you fight against grows stronger. And what you desperately try to control slips from your grasp, because life was never meant to be lived in tension. The law of the divine is effortless order, perfect flow, alignment without resistance. The river does not strain to reach the ocean. It simply flows, guided by gravity, drawn by inevitability. So too must you allow your life to flow, carried by the invisible current that always knows the way. Ease is not laziness. Ease is mastery. It is trust in the higher law, faith in divine timing, confidence in unseen supply. The farmer does not stand over the seed, shouting at it to grow, straining in impatience. He plants, he waters, he waits with ease, knowing the soil and the sun will fulfill their part. Strain would make him dig up the seed in anxiety, destroying the harvest before it could ever bloom. Ease allows the process to unfold in harmony. In the same way, when you detach from strain, you give permission for the divine to work in your favor. You stop interfering with worry, and you start cooperating with faith. Strain springs from fear, fear of not enough, fear of being left behind, fear that the universe may fail you. Ease is born of trust, the knowing that supply is infinite, that nothing is withheld, that your good cannot be taken from you. When you strain, you declare lack. When you ease, you declare abundance. Strain says, I must force this to happen. Ease says, it is already happening. I need only align. Strain closes doors because it speaks disbelief. Ease opens doors because it reflects certainty. The great irony is that the harder people strain for wealth, success, or love, the further those blessings move away. Desire, when twisted with fear, becomes desperation, and desperation commands resistance. Ease, on the other hand, draws everything closer. Ease is magnetic. Ease says to the world, I am already whole, I am already provided for, I am already blessed. And in that vibration, wealth, success, and love come running, because they always respond to the energy of fullness, never to the energy of lack. Detachment from strain is not indifference. It does not mean you cease to care or cease to act. It means you release the anxious grip, the tight control, the clenched fist that tries to dictate every detail. It means you act from inspiration, not desperation, from guidance, not fear. Detachment is freedom, for it allows you to do your part and trust the divine to handle the rest. It is saying, I am responsible for the sowing, but I will let the universe handle the growing. The strain-bound soul believes results come from endless exertion. The detached soul knows results come from alignment. When you are aligned, one inspired action achieves more than 100 strained ones. Strain burns energy and produces little fruit. Ease conserves energy and multiplies results. This is why miracles often happen when you finally let go. The door you pushed against in vain suddenly swings open when you stop pressing and step back in trust. Strain was the lock. Ease is the key. Even the body testifies to this truth. Strain produces sickness, tension, and fatigue. Ease produces health, vitality, and clarity. When you detach from strain, you allow your whole being to function in harmony. The mind calms, the heart opens, and creativity flows. Solutions arrive naturally because you are no longer blocking them with frantic effort. Opportunities reveal themselves because you are no longer blind with worry. Ease sharpens your vision, while strain clouds it. You must remember that life is not a test of endurance, but a demonstration of divine supply. The divine does not reward suffering. It does not require you to bleed, sweat, and collapse before granting abundance. Supply is not a prize earned by strain. It is a gift received by faith. When you detach from strain, you step into the stream of supply that was flowing all along, waiting only for you to stop fighting the current. Look at nature. The flowers do not strain to bloom. The trees do not strain to grow. The stars do not strain to shine. All unfolds with grace, with rhythm, with effortless timing. You are not separate from this order. You too were created for ease, for flow, for harmony. The moment you trust this order, life becomes lighter. Strain falls away, and in its place comes ease, joy, and abundance. Ease is the language of faith. Faith is never frantic. Faith does not worry, does not rush, does not clutch at what it already knows is secure. Faith moves in ease because it knows the outcome is already written. When you embrace ease, you embody faith. You say to the universe, I trust you to deliver, and I will enjoy the journey. That energy alone commands miracles, for the universe always rushes to support the one who trusts. Detach from strain, embrace ease, and you will discover that life bends toward you instead of away. Wealth will flow without resistance, opportunities will open without effort, relationships will blossom without force. Strain pushes everything away, ease draws everything near. Strain contracts your world, ease expands it. The world may tell you that without struggle you cannot succeed, but truth whispers otherwise. Struggle is not your destiny, ease is your inheritance. Detachment from strain does not weaken you. It empowers you, it aligns you with the very flow of creation, the law that governs all things. Once you rest in that flow, you will never again need to chase, to fight, to strain. You will simply call, and life will answer. For the moment you release the clenched fist, your hand is free to receive. The moment you let go of strain, abundance rushes in. And the moment you embrace ease, you step into the rhythm of the divine, where all things are possible and nothing is withheld. Gratitude as the activator, for nothing moves the unseen into the seen as quickly and as powerfully as a grateful heart. Gratitude is the golden key that unlocks every door, the spark that ignites the law of supply, the magnet that pulls the invisible currents of abundance into visible form. Without gratitude, the flow is stagnant, because ingratitude blocks the channel of good. But with gratitude, doors swing wide, rivers of prosperity rush forth, and miracles manifest where once there was only limitation. Gratitude is not mere politeness, not a shallow thank you spoken without thought. It is a deep inner state, a recognition of divine provision already at work, a declaration that all is well and more is on the way. Gratitude activates because it shifts the focus of the mind from lack to supply. The one who complains sees only what is missing and commands more lack, but the one who gives thanks sees what is present and multiplies it. Gratitude is multiplication in action. Like the loaves and fishes that fed the multitude, increase is born when thanksgiving is spoken over what appears small. The mind says, "This is not enough," but gratitude says, "This is abundant, and I bless it." And in that blessing, the so-called little stretches, expands, and overflows, because gratitude has commanded it to do so. Every thought and every word carries energy, and gratitude carries the energy of abundance fulfilled. When you say, "Thank you," you are affirming, "It is already here, it is already done, I am already provided for." This affirmation of completion sends a signal to the subconscious mind and to the universe itself, aligning both with the reality of your desire. Gratitude collapses the distance between what is hoped for and what is present, bringing tomorrow's good into today's hands. That is why gratitude is not passive. It is the activator. It sets into motion the unseen forces that align circumstances, people, and opportunities in your favor. The ungrateful heart shuts itself away from miracles. To complain is to declare that you have not been given enough, and thus the law obeys, granting you more of not enough. To criticize your portion is to block increase, for you cannot despise the seed and still expect a harvest. Yet to bless your portion, to say, "This too is good, this too is enough, and I am thankful," is to water the seed and command it to grow. Gratitude is the watering of the soil of life, and without it, the harvest withers. Gratitude is also faith in action. It is one thing to hope, another to believe, but to give thanks before the manifestation appears is to declare your faith as complete. Gratitude says, "I know the supply is mine even before I see it with my eyes." That knowing draws the unseen into form. To thank in advance is to activate the process of manifestation. It is to demonstrate trust in divine law, and divine law never fails the one who trusts. Consider how gratitude transforms even the smallest of blessings. The person who receives a single coin and blesses it, thanking the divine for abundance, will see that coin multiply, because gratitude activates increase. But the one who despises the coin, calling it worthless, will see money flee from their hands, because ingratitude commands decrease. The law is precise and unbending. You cannot curse what you hold and expect it to grow. You cannot complain about lack and expect abundance to arrive, but you can bless the little and watch it multiply beyond measure. Gratitude activates multiplication. Even in adversity, gratitude is the activator of transformation. To complain in the storm is to strengthen the storm, but to give thanks in the storm is to shift the energy and invite calm. Gratitude in difficulty declares, "I know something good is unfolding even here." And because the law responds to what you declare, gratitude transforms hardship into stepping stones. It activates the hidden blessings that trials contain, turning burdens into breakthroughs. Gratitude is alchemy, changing the very vibration of a situation from negative to positive, from closed to open, from scarcity to abundance. Gratitude is magnetic because it aligns you with the vibration of abundance. The universe responds to energy, and gratitude radiates abundance fulfilled. It sends the signal that you are already rich, already whole, already provided for. and like attracts like, so abundance is drawn to you. Struggle repels wealth, but gratitude attracts it. Fear repels opportunities, but gratitude draws them in. When you live in gratitude, life cannot help but respond with more for you to be grateful for. It is a cycle of increase, endlessly activated by your thankful spirit. The grateful heart lives in ease, not strain, for strain comes from believing you must force results, but gratitude knows results are already assured. Gratitude relaxes the soul, softens the grip of control, and opens the hands to receive. When you say, "Thank you," you let go of desperation and step into alignment. The flow of abundance is not created by struggle, it is activated by gratitude. Ease comes naturally when you live in thanks, for your heart knows supply is already on its way. Gratitude must be practiced as discipline. The natural tendency of the mind is to drift toward what is lacking, to fixate on what is missing. But gratitude trains the mind to see what is already present and what is already good. It sharpens vision until blessings are noticed everywhere. In the breath you take, the food you eat, the opportunities around you, the love that surrounds you. And as you notice, you bless, and as you bless, you activate. This daily practice builds momentum until gratitude becomes your nature, and increase becomes your experience. Gratitude is also contagious. A grateful spirit uplifts not only your own life, but the lives of all around you. Speak words of thanks, and those words carry energy into the atmosphere, changing environments, softening hearts, and opening doors. Gratitude raises the vibration of every space it enters. It shifts the energy of conversations. It transforms relationships, it heals wounds, and it builds bridges. When you carry gratitude, you carry light, and that light activates blessing for all who cross your path. Even sleep responds to gratitude. To close your day with thanks is to instruct the subconscious mind to multiply good through the night. Sleep entered with complaint produces restlessness, but sleep entered with gratitude produces inspiration, peace, and solutions. Gratitude activates the night watch, where unseen forces work while you rest, aligning your tomorrow with greater good. Each morning becomes a harvest of what you planted in gratitude the night before. Gratitude is the activator because it is the signal of receptivity. Without it, you cannot receive. With it, you cannot fail to receive. It is the open door, the lifted cup, the outstretched hand saying, "I am ready, I am willing, I am prepared for overflow." And overflow responds. Gratitude does not wait until abundance appears. It activates abundance by affirming it already exists. That is why the one who is grateful in little soon finds themselves grateful in much, for the law of increase cannot be denied. Gratitude as the activator is the secret behind every miracle, the force behind every manifestation, the bridge between the invisible and the visible. It is the simplest practice and the most powerful. To give thanks is to declare that supply is certain, that abundance is real, that divine law is working for you. Gratitude is not an afterthought, it is the cause. It sets everything in motion, it multiplies all it touches, it transforms lack into plenty, and it opens the floodgates of prosperity. To live in gratitude is to live in unending increase, because gratitude activates the law, and the law never fails. The law of circulation governs all of life, for nothing in this universe is stagnant, nothing is fixed, nothing is meant to be hoarded or withheld. The divine order is constant movement, flow, and exchange. What you give returns, what you release multiplies, what you circulate expands. Just as blood must flow freely through the body to bring health, and just as rivers must keep moving to remain pure, so too must wealth, love, and blessings flow through your life. When circulation is honored, there is abundance. When it is blocked, there is lack. Many live in fear, clutching tightly to what they have, convinced that if they let go, they will lose. Yet it is the act of holding that guarantees loss, for stagnation breeds decay. Money hidden away in fear does not grow, it withers. Opportunities clutched with anxiety are missed. Love withheld dies in silence. The law of circulation demands movement, and movement is life. To release is not to lose, it is to keep the current alive, to remain connected to the great flow of supply that surrounds and sustains you. Look at nature, for it is the perfect teacher of this law. The sun gives light endlessly without fear of running out, and in return, life flourishes on the earth. The ocean releases water into the clouds pour rain upon the land, and the rivers return to the sea. The tree bears fruit, releasing it to the ground or to those who eat, and within each fruit are seeds to create more trees. At no point is the process broken, at no point does anything hoard. Circulation is the very heartbeat of creation, and the moment something refuses to flow, it begins to die. So it is with wealth. Money is energy, and energy must move. If you fearfully grip it, you strangle its power to multiply. But when you use it, share it, and allow it to move into right channels, it circles back, often multiplied. That is why generosity is not loss, it is increase. Every act of giving, when done in faith and joy, sends wealth into circulation, and by the law, what is sent returns. You may not always know the channel of return, but the law guarantees it. The law of circulation is impartial. It does not play favorites, it only mirrors your willingness to flow. If you give grudgingly, you activate resistance. If you give joyfully, you activate expansion. If you refuse to release at all, you block the current and lack appears in your life. People often mistake the blockage for fate, believing they are cursed with bad luck, when in truth, they have shut themselves off from flow. The moment they release, the moment they let money, love, and blessings move freely through them, the tide turns. Circulation resumes and supply reappears. The key is to understand that nothing you give is ever gone. Everything you release enters the great current and finds its way back in some form, often greater than before. When you bless what you circulate, be it money, time, love, or energy, you multiply it. But when you release in fear, resentment, or duty, you send it into the world stripped of power. The law answers the quality of the circulation, not only the act itself. To give joyfully is to command joyful return. To give begrudgingly is to invite more burden. Think of the breath. You cannot inhale until you exhale. If you try to hold your breath, refusing to release, you suffocate, but as long as you exhale freely, you can receive fresh air endlessly. So too is it with wealth and blessings. Release what you hold and more comes in. Hold too tightly, and nothing new can enter. The rhythm of life is give and receive, release and return, sow and reap. Break that rhythm, and you cut yourself off from the very law that sustains increase. This law also applies to thoughts and words. When you circulate words of blessing, encouragement, and faith, those vibrations return to you, creating environments of harmony and opportunity. But when you circulate criticism, fear, and complaint, those energies return as well, multiplying discord in your life. The law of circulation does not distinguish between money and thought, between things and spirit. It governs all. Whatever you send forth, you set into motion, and it circles back in kind. The wise soul understands that circulation is not loss, but investment into the law itself. The farmer does not weep when casting seed into the soil, thinking he has lost his grain. He knows circulation is taking place. What leaves his hand will return as harvest. In the same way, what leaves your hand in faith, gratitude, and blessing is never lost. It has only entered a cycle that guarantees return. The fearful hoard the seed and wonder why there is no harvest. The faithful sow the seed and reap abundantly. Circulation also teaches detachment, for when you understand the law, you no longer cling. You release freely, knowing the return is inevitable. You do not measure the worth of giving by immediate results, for you trust the process. The river may wind far before reaching the ocean, but it will reach it. So too will your gifts, your offerings, your blessings return in their perfect time and form. The law of circulation is exact. It never loses track, never misplaces, never fails. There is a joy in circulation that the fearful heart never knows. To give freely, to release with faith, is to feel yourself a part of the divine current of life itself. You become a vessel through which blessings flow, and in that flow you are constantly refreshed. You are never empty because the current never stops. You are never poor because you live in the stream of abundance. Poverty is the illusion of stagnation. Wealth is the reality of circulation. Even love obeys this law. When you give love freely, without fear, without condition, it multiplies and returns to you. When you withhold love, fearing rejection or loss, you cut yourself off from its flow. The heart that circulates love is always full. The heart that hoards it is always empty. Life was designed for circulation in every form, and to resist it is to resist the very essence of existence. The law of circulation calls you to trust. It calls you to act in faith, to release in gratitude, to sow in joy. It calls you to let go of fear, to stop clutching at what you cannot lose, to step into the current and let it carry you. For just as the ocean never runs dry, though it gives endlessly, so too will your supply never end when you live in circulation. The more you release, the more room you create for the new. The more you bless, the more blessings surround you. To live by the law of circulation is to live in freedom. No more fear of loss, no more desperation, no more clinging. Instead, you live in flow, in trust, in abundance. You become a steward of supply, not a prisoner of it. You participate in the rhythm of giving and receiving, and in that rhythm, you discover the endlessness of divine provision. For nothing is ever truly gone. Everything flows, everything returns, everything multiplies in the great circulation of life. Visualization before resting is one of the most powerful tools for transformation, because the moments before sleep are sacred, when the conscious mind surrenders and the subconscious takes command. The thoughts you hold, the images you paint, and the words you speak just before closing your eyes become the seeds planted in the fertile soil of the subconscious. During the night, while the body rests, these seeds take root, grow, and shape the conditions of your waking life. What you dwell upon before sleep is magnified, multiplied, and carried into your tomorrow. For the subconscious does not sleep. It works tirelessly, obediently, and without resistance. Most people drift into rest rehearsing worries, replaying failures, or fearing tomorrow. They allow anxiety to be the final imprint upon their minds. And so, the subconscious receives the command to reproduce fear, to create obstacles, to magnify lack. They wake to the very conditions they dreaded, never realizing they had written the script of their own experience by what they visualized before resting. But the one who understands the law knows that bedtime is not an end, it is a beginning. The last thought is the instruction, and the subconscious never questions. It simply obeys. Visualization before resting is the deliberate practice of impressing the subconscious with images of abundance, harmony, and fulfillment. It is choosing to end the day with gratitude and vision instead of fear and regret. When you close your eyes and see yourself already living in wealth, already healed, already victorious, you are writing the blueprint your subconscious will follow. The mind cannot distinguish between a vividly imagined scene and a physical reality. To it, both are truth. And what the subconscious accepts as truth, it will manifest. To visualize is to command, but to visualize before rest is to command with amplified power. For in that liminal state, between waking and sleeping, the veil is thinnest, the subconscious most open, the conscious resistance weakest. Affirmations spoken in the middle of the day may meet doubt, but affirmations spoken before rest slip past the guard of reason and sink directly into the heart of belief. That is why it is said, guard your last thought before sleep, for it becomes your first reality upon waking. Picture this: as you lie upon your bed, instead of rehearsing lack, you rehearse abundance. You see your bank account overflowing, your life filled with opportunities, your heart at peace. You feel the emotion of already receiving, already enjoying the good you desire. That emotion, felt deeply, imprints itself like fire upon the subconscious. And as you drift into rest, that image is replayed again and again in your inner mind, woven into your very being. By morning, you are not only refreshed in body, but aligned in spirit, carrying into the new day the certainty of your vision. Visualization before resting is also alignment with divine law. It is an act of trust, saying, while I sleep, life continues to work for me. While I rest, supply multiplies. While I dream, the universe arranges itself for my good. It is surrender with intention, a releasing of control with faith that what you have impressed will be fulfilled. Sleep is not an interruption of progress, it is the continuation of it. And when you go into sleep carrying the right vision, you cooperate with the law, letting unseen forces work without interference. Every great invention, every inspired idea, every sudden solution has been born in this state. The subconscious, when given a problem before rest, works tirelessly upon it, drawing from infinite intelligence, returning answers in the form of intuition, dreams, or sudden clarity. To visualize before resting is not only to command material blessings, but to awaken divine wisdom. You are giving your inner self instructions, and it responds with guidance. This is why many of history's greatest thinkers, creators, and leaders used the practice of visualization at night. They understood that the night is not silent, it is creative, but it is not enough to casually imagine. You must feel it real. Visualization before resting is effective only when infused with emotion. If you simply think of wealth as an abstract idea, the subconscious may not accept it. But if you feel the joy of abundance, the relief of freedom, the thrill of success, the subconscious registers it as truth. Emotion is the seal upon the command, the force that activates the image into creation. That is why gratitude is so powerful before rest. It stirs emotion, it creates certainty, it convinces the inner mind that abundance is already here. Consider how different your life becomes when you make this practice a habit. Each night you end with a vision of good. Each morning you awaken to opportunities that align with it. Instead of carrying stress into the night and waking heavy, you carry peace into the night and wake light, renewed and guided. Slowly, then suddenly, your reality shifts to mirror the images you impressed. Conditions rearrange, doors open, resources appear, and circumstances bend toward the vision you planted before sleep. It is not magic, it is law. Visualization before resting also heals. To go to bed visualizing harmony in the body, light in the mind, and peace in the soul allows the subconscious to work on restoration through the night. Healing energy is amplified when directed with gratitude and vision. Those who close their eyes with worry about sickness often magnify it. Those who close their eyes with thanksgiving for health often accelerate it. The body listens to the subconscious, and the subconscious listens to the pictures you provide. This practice is not reserved for the few. It is for all. Anyone can close their eyes and see what they desire. Anyone can speak words of thanks before sleep. Anyone can replace fear with vision, complaint with gratitude, anxiety with peace. Yet few do it because many underestimate the power of a simple practice. They think grand change requires grand effort, yet overlook the quiet miracle of the last 5 minutes before rest. But those who understand and practice it consistently find their lives transformed, for small hinges swing great doors. To visualize before resting is to claim your authority. It is to recognize that you are not a victim of circumstance, but a commander of reality. It is to end each day as a creator, not a complainer, as a visionary, not a worrier. Your mind was designed to serve you, your subconscious to obey you, and your sleep to multiply what you direct. Why waste it on fear when you could use it to create abundance? Why fill your night with complaint when you could fill it with thanksgiving? The choice is yours, and the results will always match your choice. The one who masters this practice knows that no day is wasted, for even in rest, life is moving forward. Every night is an opportunity to activate increase. Every evening a chance to plant tomorrow's harvest. By closing your eyes with vision, you open your life to manifestation. By sleeping with gratitude, you wake to multiplication. Visualization before resting is not a small ritual. It is the activator of transformation, the bridge between desire and reality, the law working silently through the night to bring forth the abundance that has always been yours. Faith over figures is the divine law that reminds us that numbers do not dictate destiny, statistics do not limit supply, and appearances do not define what is possible. The world often teaches us to measure our lives by figures, bank balances, income sheets, debts, and projections. It convinces us that what we see is what we get, and what is lacking now will continue to lack. Yet, there is a higher truth. Figures are only shadows of belief, and when faith takes the lead, figures must rearrange themselves in obedience to it. Faith is the substance that shapes what appears, and when you hold faith firmly, the numbers on the page must eventually rise to match the certainty in your spirit. Many people are enslaved by figures. They check their accounts and immediately allow the numbers to dictate their mood, their decisions, and their expectation of life. They believe a small balance means scarcity is their fate. They think a negative statement means debt has the final say. They interpret declining numbers as proof of decline in life itself. But those who understand the law know that figures are nothing more than a temporary snapshot, a passing reflection of old beliefs and past thinking. Figures are not permanent. They shift like shadows, and shadows cannot stand against the light of faith. Faith sees beyond figures. Faith knows that supply is infinite and cannot be measured by what is in the account today. Faith does not panic at a zero, for faith knows that divine supply can multiply from nothing. Faith does not bow to statistics, for it recognizes that divine law is not bound by probability. Faith is the higher law that governs all figures, and when faith is exercised, it rewrites them. When you choose to walk in faith rather than figures, you release yourself from the tyranny of appearances and enter the freedom of true abundance. Consider the farmer who plants a seed. If he were to look only at figures, he would despair. One seed does not equal a harvest. One small grain buried in the soil looks like a loss. But faith knows that hidden in that seed is multiplication beyond measure. Faith says, though I see little, I expect much. Faith says, though the figures look small, the supply is infinite. That farmer acts not on what he sees, but on what he knows to be true. That increase is law, that harvest is sure, that abundance is guaranteed. When you live by faith over figures, you stop treating money as your master and numbers as your ruler. You stop checking accounts with dread and start checking them with expectancy, knowing they are simply indicators of where you were, not where you are going. You begin to act in alignment with abundance rather than in reaction to lack. Faith makes you bold, confident, and generous, while figures often make you fearful, hesitant, and restrained. Faith says give, and it will be given. Figures say hold tight, because there is not enough. Faith says prepare for increase. Figures say brace for decline. Which one will you follow? Stories throughout history reveal the truth of faith over figures. Time and again, people who had nothing in their hands but everything in their hearts saw miracles of supply. A small amount stretched, multiplied, and grew beyond reason because faith was present. Figures would have said, "This is not enough," but faith declared, This is the seed of more. Figures bow when faith speaks. Lack dissolves when faith stands. Conditions rearrange when faith commands. The outer must yield to the inner, and the inner is ruled by faith. Faith is not blind optimism. It is conviction in divine order. It is the assurance that supply comes not from numbers but from source. Numbers can fall, but source cannot. Figures can decline, but supply is unending. Faith is knowing that you live under a law higher than economics, a law greater than statistics, a law that says, all that is mine is thine. When you know this, you are no longer a servant to figures but a master over them. Figures may tell you it is impossible to rise, that your debts are too great, that your income is too small. But faith tells you that with one inspired idea, one connection, one opportunity, one act of obedience, everything can change in a moment. Figures look backward, but faith looks forward. Figures are history, but faith is destiny. Figures tell you what has been. Faith declares what shall be. When you choose faith over figures, you refine.